Like we are live. I am George with Solo Suit, one of the founders. Happy to be here with y'all today. We're going to be talking about credit repair. We have Tanya on the show with us today. Welcome, Tanya.
Hi, thank you. Welcome.
Perfect. Glad to have you here. Uh, Looks like the audio and visual is all working good, but if there's any problems, folks, just let us know in the chat. Tanya, can you go ahead and tell us about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Tanya, and I'm here in Kansas City, Missouri. I own a credit repair company called 720 FICO Club, and I'm currently in process of another company called Road to 720. I want to be able to offer people who just either, I get it, funds are tight, they want to learn how to repair their own credit. I'm offering a way to be able to do that for free. So free credit repair, if you're down for DIY, the DIY credit repair process, because I just, everybody deserves to try to get their credit, back on track. And there's, some good ways to go about doing it. And then there's some ways you kind of don't want to go about doing it. So I think that's what we're going to dive into and talk about here on this show.
Nice, fantastic. That sounds great. And where do people follow you on like YouTube and TikTok?
Yeah, so I'm Credit Coach Tanya on TikTok and on YouTube. So you can just literally type in Credit Coach Tanya and I'll pop up. Tanya.
Nice. That sounds
Try to keep it
great.
easy.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Uh, then Hannah, if you could add her link into the chat, folks. If you guys want to use Solo Suit, if you've been sued for a debt, you can use Solo Suit to respond. You can also make an offer to settle. Hannah will add a special link into the chat that will support Tanya. So if you use Solo Suit, go ahead and click that link and do that up. Great. Tanya, questions for you. How does charged off debt impact your credit?
Well, I think we all understand what a charged off debt is, but anytime a creditor deems an account unlikely to be collected on, usually after 180 days of non-payment, it's a severe delinquency. If they charge it off, you still owe the amount, but it's literally marked as a loss by the creditor. And so the impact to your credit, it's reported to the credit bureaus. It's going to appear on your credit report for 7 years from the date of that first missed payment that led up to that charge off. And that negative mark, it not only significantly can lower your credit score, but I know from a funding standpoint, if your goal is to become a homeowner, you need to apply for a mortgage or a credit card or a loan, that charge off is going to stand in the way. The rules for funding have just tightened up, and a charge off, it's not going to help you at all. It's going to hurt you. It's going to affect your credit score. Obviously, it's going to hurt it. I've seen credit scores drop by 100 points or even more, depending on what your overall credit looks like. And then again, difficulty in being able to obtain new credit. I think lenders, it's a red flag for them. They see it as a sign of financial struggles, irresponsibility, and I've yet to see a lender approve credit with a charge off. If you are approved, your interest rates are probably going to be very, very high, just really not favorable terms. So, and then let's talk about the collections and the legal actions, because that's how I came across Solo Suit. After an account gets charged off, it could stay with the original creditor, and I'm seeing more charged off accounts staying with the original creditor, who is then, after trying to send their notices out to you, the consumer, they are contracting with a debt, like a law firm that specializes in debt collections. Now they can also sell your charge off account to a collection agency, additional collection efforts, and I'm seeing more people getting sued faster, like not 3 or 4 years later, but like maybe 4 or 5, 6 months later, especially by like the majors, Visa, American Express, Capital One. So you really don't want to, if you can avoid things going into charge-off status, avoid that. Talk to your lender. The more negative entries that you have on your credit report, it's not going to help. And then just, it makes it harder to get I should say, make it not impossible, but it can make it harder to get the charge-off account removed. from your credit report once it's on there. So to me, it's the worst kind of negative derogatory item that you can have on a credit report, but it's not the end of the world. So if you have a charge off, take a deep breath. Just
Okay.
have to work through it.
Okay. And how long after a charge off are you seeing people get sued normally?
Honestly, I am seeing like within 3 or 4 months in some cases. Um, I have people coming to me, and so you know, you have a couple of options with the charge off, especially when you're getting sued. You can try to go about it yourself. Most people just ignore the lawsuit, and then or they've moved, they've not updated their address with the credit reporting agencies. I don't recommend hiding from collections or thinking that you don't have to update. I recommend that you do update your address with the credit reporting agencies, because I'm seeing people, and they've come to me, they've messaged me, hey, I'm getting a wage garnishment, had no idea I was even being sued. Well, turns out that the creditor or debt buyer, they used the last known address they had on file for you, and you were served, you didn't show up, you got a default judgment. So we don't want that to happen. But if you are getting sued, if you've been served with a debt lawsuit notice, get with SoloSuit. They've got the products, the resources to help you be able to answer. And I actually went through the process. I don't have a charge off myself, but I wanted to know what the, the process was. So I went and I started filling out the form. I had to stop short of filing with the court because, like I said, I don't have a charge off, but I can't believe how user friendly and intuitive it was. I was like, wow, I mean, it doesn't get much simpler than this. You don't have to learn law. You don't have to, stress yourself out and have sleepless nights, wait until the last minute to respond to a debt lawsuit. Literally use the SoloSuit product responding to a summons, and the rest is done for you. Don't, take you through step by step, fill out the form, file it for you. I believe you get to talk to an attorney for a little bit.
Nice. Yep, love that. Yep, we can have an attorney review the document and get you all taken care of. Okay, that sounds great, Tanya. Um, and so you're saying that people are getting sued more earlier after a charge
They
off
are.
than they used to be, right? It used
They
to be
are.
a later
They are.
experience.
Mm-hmm. They are, and it's staying with the original. I'm seeing it staying with the original creditor a lot more versus like they're not even like sending it to a collection agency. They'll send it in house to an attorney law firm, and they're not playing. When you signed up for the credit card or the line of credit or whatnot, it was kind of your guarantee to them that you would pay them back. And I get it. Some of us are falling on hard times. Situations have changed, and you just have to communicate with your creditor. If you don't, there's some ramifications for that. And,
Okay.
yeah.
How can you repair your credit after debt settlement?
So after you do a debt settlement, which and if you don't know, you're negotiating with creditors, or you can hire a company to help you negotiate with creditors to pay a lump sum that's going to be less than ideally than what you owe on the debt, and it'll be in your credit report. You want to pull your credit report, your real credit report, annualcreditreport.com. That's going to be your actual credit report, and make sure that the settled debts still reflect accurately, settled or paid and not still marked as outstanding. You still have the right to dispute any accuracies. If you see any errors or inaccuracies in the reporting of settled debts, dispute them. Use the dispute process to, identify and request correction. I mean, the credit bureaus are either going to correct, delete, or do nothing, but ideally correct or delete. And those things can help to improve your credit. And then keep a positive payment history. Just, make all your payments on time. Payment history is the most significant factor in your credit score. So that right there is one way to increase your credit, to start repairing your credit. And if you have to, set up automatic payments, reminders, just so that you don't miss a payment. And then reduce your outstanding debt. I have seen credit scores move, my own credit score, because I had a bad credit score years ago, 499. Got my credit together, repaired it myself, started paying down credit cards, and I didn't know. We it's not something that's taught in school. So a lot of us kind of learned the hard way. And I didn't know about credit cards being maxed out utilization. And when I paid down credit cards to like that third, I got to that 30% and then that 10%, that got me into like the 720s. I was like, whoa, 100-point increase just from bringing my maxed out credit cards down to like 30%. So I recommend doing that. Try to build an emergency fund, so that when you have financial hardships, I do believe in having that emergency fund, putting aside a little bit every paycheck if you can, even if it's only $5, just have that emergency fund available, and educate yourself on credit so that you can be a more informed consumer and you can understand how to use it more responsibly. Don't just go out and apply for it. I see people with tons of inquiries. Well, if you've been getting denied, stop applying. Just lay low on the applications while you work to repair your credit, and keep the older accounts. Older accounts do help. You actually get, like I call it, graded. You get points just for having your older accounts. Don't close those older accounts, those 10-year-old accounts, those 5-year-old accounts, because they're, even if you may have a ding on it for late payment or whatnot, you get points. Like, you're actually graded by the credit bureaus, as I call it, for having credit history. So
Right.
those
All
are
right.
some ways.
Okay. Great. And then, do you have any? If, let's say, like, someone just wanted to do the one thing to repair their credit, like in 30 days, if they could, you have like one tip to like try to expedite the process as much as you can?
I'm going to say I'm going to go back to the credit cards. If you have credit card balances, get them paid down to 30% or below. That can really boost your credit score the most. Even if you've got some other things that are on your credit report, and try to negotiate with creditors. If you have debt collections, go to the website of the debt collectors, see if they offer pay for deletes. If you see pay for deletes, then you know that they do pay for deletes, and negotiate that, because that's going to help. If you can get a pay for delete, once you've paid that, you paid what you agreed to, if they'll take it off your credit report, and that's going to help increase your credit score as well. So I think those are two things that I would recommend.
Nice. That sounds great. And then for the folks listening, how did you find out about SoloSuit?
Well, I found out about you guys from another attorney, and actually several attorneys. So I had potential clients coming to me. They were getting sued, or they already had default judgments, or most of them were getting sued, and they're just like, I can't, like, once you've been served a lawsuit, credit repair folks, we can't help you. You really need to answer that lawsuit, and it's expensive to hire an attorney. I mean, attorneys, $1,200, $2,000 to represent you, and I'm like, there's got to be something out there. And in just talking in attorney groups that I'm in, I kept hearing SoloSuit. So I was like, okay, one was saying, I recommend clients to, if all they have is like a lawsuit going on, recommend them to SoloSuit. And so I looked you guys up, and you have a ton of information on your website. It's amazing, the resources that are on your website. You can learn a lot about credit repair, the lawsuit process. I think you have something on arbitration on there, but yeah. And so I said, okay, this is a great product. And then I've seen the feedback, how SoloSuit has helped so many people, who've gone through the lawsuit process to, get it thrown out or get things settled, get things taken care of. And it's just that weight lifted off shoulders for them. So it's a great product.
Awesome. Glad to hear. Fantastic, Tanya. We're going to jump into some of the questions from our watchers today. We got a lot of people on the webinar, so we got some questions from them. Folks, we've just been talking about credit repair here. We reserve the second half of this webinar for any questions that you have. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put those into the chat now. We're going to try to get to all of them. And then Hannah, wonderful assistant, will also be responding to them via chat. So if you have any questions about your lawsuit or about credit repair, trying to figure out how to get your credit back up, go ahead and put those questions into the chat. Okay? All right, we got a first one from Cheryl. She said this is not related to today's topic, but I have court on Friday. I have filed a motion to compel arbitration. The plaintiff responded to the court stating this was an ordinary claim and is not subject to arbitration. What next? Any direction would be appreciated. Thank you. Tanya, I'm happy to take that one. Cheryl, so curious to know what state you're in. The motion to compel arbitration that you create from our website is designed to compel private arbitration, probably through the American Arbitration Association, AAA, or JAMS. Sometimes courts, it's really surprising, but sometimes courts misunderstand the motion and think that it's requiring court-sponsored arbitration. There's seriously no reasonable reason that would lead them to think that, other than just like misreading the motion pretty badly. If the court has stated that and you're there verbally, you can just state this is requiring private arbitration, not court-sponsored arbitration. If this is overwriting, you can submit a document saying something along those same lines. Yeah. And furthermore, if there's a situation where the judge is saying there's not an arbitration clause in your contract, that's something that's valid. You just want to make sure there's an arbitration clause in your contract. If you have a contract from a big credit card excluding Chase and Capital One, it probably has an arbitration clause, and you can definitely leverage that with a motion to compel arbitration. Okay, and then let's see, next question here. Lakeisha, how long do I wait until I dispute a settled account? I paid it off in April, but it's still showing up on my credit at late May. Yeah, so there you go. What do you think, Tanya?
I would say get your credit report, look at the account, get it from annualcreditreport.com. Don't use third, party reports like Identity IQ. Nothing wrong with Identity IQ or some of the others, but Annual Credit Report's a real report. You have the right to dispute anything that is still reporting inaccurately or incompletely, as long as it's a valid, item, that it's a valid issue, a valid reason. And so I would do it now.
Do it now. All right, there you go.
Do it now.
There you go. We got a question from Gail. Tanya, last time we talked about once we pay off settled debts or charge-offs, how we write to the credit bureau creditors to report that debt as satisfied or in a way that is beneficial to us. I guess they're wondering about the wording, like how, I guess framing this up as a question. Once they pay off a debt, how do they write to the credit bureaus requesting the debt be reported as satisfied?
Just like that. How is it? Get your credit report. How is it reporting? I think people get caught up on like the verbiage because there's just so much stuff on social media. You got to put this in. You got to put that law in. Da 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 da. Speak in just how you speak. Ask. Just ask. Tell them what you need. Tell them what you want. I think where a lot of people get their letters caught up in, we think you're a credit repair company or some response from the credit bureau, is because they're trying too hard to sound legalistic, or it just doesn't sound natural. So honestly, the letters that I send are like 3 sentences long. They're short, sweet, and to the point. I call it KISS. Keep it short and simple. So
nice. That's great. Okay, yeah, so just, does it have to be on like a letter? Like, so you're saying just like speak in plain English, just like say you want this to be reported as satisfied, just like that?
Yeah. Here's the account. Here's the issue that I'm seeing with it, and here's what I need to happen. Here's the resolution that I need. And if you can't do that, then
great.
delete you.
do you recommend like putting it on paper and then mailing it to the bureau, or is there like an email address, or how does that work?
So you can write. I like the paper trail. I like the letter. I like even, I do like sending it certified, because then you've got proof that you sent it certified. And if the credit reporting agency, that they don't respond, um, then you've got some leverage there, because you sent it, they got it, they've done nothing. Now if you need to at some point leverage the CFPB to say, hey, I sent something to the credit bureau, they did not respond. Here's my proof that they got what I'm requesting. I need this corrected. It's not reflecting correctly on my credit report. The CFPB can step in and kind of help. But yeah, you can write a letter, and you can. I've disputed online. You're just more limited when you dispute online, and if you do dispute online, do it directly with the credit bureaus. Don't go through Credit Karma or some other third-party app. Do it directly with the credit bureaus. But you're just limited with what you can ask for. So that's why I recommend as much as possible the letter.
Okay, so like an actual paper letter mailed in.
Yeah, paper letter. Type it, write it.
Does it need to be on like some fancy letterhead or anything? Like, do you have to worry about what's above the paragraph?
No, just address it to the credit bureau or credit bureaus. You guys, when I do letters, I will put, if I need to go to all three credit bureaus are addressed on that one letter. And here's my request to each of you, and I'm sending it off. And
nice. That's great.
Sending 3 copies off to everybody.
That's great. You don't need to make like your personal branded logo or anything.
No, none of that. Just keep it sweet and simple.
Doesn't need to say to whom it may concern.
You can put that down, or you can put dear whatever. You don't have to put anything. Just
right.
who it's to.
You could say what's up. Right.
You can. And I do recommend, though, putting a subject line so that they know what the letter's about. Because one thing with the credit bureaus, a lot of times your letters are going offshore. They have just a few minutes to understand what you are trying to say. That's why I say keep it simple. 3 sentences is enough. 5 at the max.
Your letter
you can do more, but
your letter might go offshore. You're saying they might you might send it to their address, and then they send it overseas to an outsourced worker.
So this is what I say, because they have centers, throughout the U.S. and overseas. So write it as if you're going to send it to someone who might have English as a second language, and they have 2 minutes to interpret what you're reading and assign a code to it. And
right.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. That's great to know. Let's see. Next question. From Sun. I've used SoloSuit for 2 cases, and I've been summoned again for the same thing. What do I do? I guess that's a question for me here. You've used SoloSuit for 2 cases, and then you've been summoned a 3rd time for like a new case. Is that what you're saying? I guess in that case, you just need to use SoloSuit to create another answer document and then have us file it for you. If you're saying you're being sued a 2nd time for the same debt, then probably check in on that first lawsuit for that same debt and like see what the result was. Maybe it was dismissed without prejudice, so now they're suing you again for the same thing, which is legal. It's not like a double jeopardy situation, unfortunately. Besides that, I think those are the kind of the 2 scenarios. If it's a new debt, like a new case, you just file an answer document. If you're being sued again for like the same debt, then you can check in on like the old case for that, in which case you'll probably need to file a new answer document for that as well. Safe thing is if you're getting sued, file an answer and then figure out what's going on. All right, question from Harry. I have 6 closed by credit grantor, paid but never late accounts on my file. Do they affect my credit file negatively? Does that make sense to you? That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But does that make sense?
Is he saying he has 6 like type of collection accounts, or?
You said I have 6 closed by credit grantor. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
so they've been closed by the creditor themselves, it sounds like. And
I
is that
guess.
gonna
Yep, they were paid, but they were never paid late, apparently.
it's gonna reflect, well, I guess my question would be, if they've been closed by the original creditor, do you still have balances on them? Because once they're closed, um, I mean, it can affect your utilization, because, like, for example, if you had, you know, whatever your balance is, it's going to be reported as your limit. So if you owe $9,000, and it's been closed by the original creditor, but your limit was $15,000. Well, now it's closed, so your limit is going to reflect as $9,000, and it's going to show 100% utilization. So I would get that those credit cards or lines of credit, whatever you have going, paid off as soon as you can, and you should see your credit score go up when the utilization goes down.
Okay, cool. We got a question from RAB. What are the next steps after solo suit submits my answer to the court and lawyer? So RAB, most people want to settle, so you can make an offer to settle on our solo settle product. You may just make an offer to settle to the collector. Most debts right now settle for 71% on average. That's the average. The range is quite broad. Sometimes they settle for 0%, like they actually just get totally forgiven. Sometimes they settle above the balance, or at least above the reported balance. So you can make an offer to settle. You can file a motion to compel arbitration if there's an arbitration clause. That's what you can do on our site. Tanya, I'm curious on your take. Like, if you're sued for debt, then you file an answer. Is that a good time to take action on this account on your credit report, or do you just like wait for something else until it gets settled? What could be done there?
Well, I would, I mean, if you've answered, I mean, 'cause you have to answer a lawsuit, but if there's an opportunity to talk to, the creditor that's suing you to see if you can settle so that, before it goes to court, I would myself, if it were me, I would prefer to do that. And then once it's all done, I've made we've come to agreed upon settlement. If I have done more of here's a one-time payment, then after I've made that payment and it's reflected on the credit report, I would start disputing. I would find some valid point or reason. Is it reporting incorrectly? Is there something not right about the way it's reporting? And then you have that right again to have a credit report that is reflecting maximum accuracy. And if that account is reporting anything other than, then that's your right to. I mean, that's law to challenge that.
Great. Do you know are there like various statuses that are relevant to this stage of a debt? Like if it's charged off, that's like a status that's on the credit report, right? And then once you get sued for that debt, will that oftentimes be updated to a new status? Once it's settled, will there be a different status on the report? How do those?
There are different statuses depending on oh gosh, the stage that the debt is in, and when you're being sued, it's going to reflect um, on the credit report, just like when an account gets closed by the creditor, it's reflected on the credit report. There's that status. So there are different statuses.
Do you know if there's like a limited number, like a finite number of statuses, or is it just kind of whatever the creditor wants to put as the status?
I think it's, oh, I see what you're saying. Like, do they have certain ones that they can? I don't think that, and I could be wrong. I would have to research this, but I don't believe they can just say anything. I do believe there's like something to choose from. Otherwise, can you imagine what all our credit reports would be saying for those of us that have,
Right.
less than positive accounts? If it was just left up to the creditors to put what they want,
Right. It'd be all kinds of varied stuff. Right. That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's see. Looks like I got a last question here about a lawsuit here. From Sheena, if you go to court for a debt and you didn't answer the questions, what should I say when I go to court? Sheena, I guess most states don't allow you to go to, like, actually physically go to court until you file an answer. So you might be mistaken on the process there, where you actually have to file an answer document. And then if you do file an answer document, we have a video about what to say when you go to court, so you can watch that one. It's a video of me in a suit, and it's fun little video to watch. So go ahead and take a look at that. Basically, you want to show that the collector can't prove that you owe the debt. That's the general idea. All right, last question, Tanya. What if an account is charged off but is reporting past due? Is that illegal? This is from S.
When you're saying past due, I wonder, like, if you're talking about, like, in the payment history, because I see a lot of, like, charge off. It's like continuous charge off statuses. It's not illegal. Can't use that as like a violation. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's, but that's a common question I get. It's saying charge off.
Yep. All right, so not illegal. All right. That sounds good. All right, folks. That's pretty much all we have for you today. We're half past the hour. That's when we end. Again, if you've been sued for debt, you can use the link here in the chat to respond to that lawsuit. Tanya, thanks so much for coming on to the show and helping our people out.
Thank you for having me.
Very glad to see you. And again, thank you. Tanya is at Credit Coach Tanya on TikTok.